Mike's underneath. Come on in.
Hi. Okay, if I join?
Definitely.
Absolutely. The more the merrier. We're just getting started. So this is Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Hi.
I'm Tara.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And you know Brian. Brian's the one that runs the show here. So I guess that's where we'd start off is just want to thank Brian and Happy Mac for having us here and open up the space. So for those of you that are familiar, this is what Brian looks like. There you go. There he is. Okay. And so, but before jumping in, before just kind of going on a tirade here, what's on your guys' mind? Things that maybe want to, just when it comes to either social media or strategies, when it comes to being, in that photography, videography realm.
I think for me it's just trying to get an understanding of getting your work or your brand out there, to the community. Social media is one of those big things where a lot of people are really focusing on and getting their content out there.
Yeah.
So just having a better understanding of it and getting like a good grasp on how to make it work for
Okay. So basically how to leverage social media more from a promotional perspective.
Correct.
Of getting out to an audience. Okay, we'll definitely talk about that. Anything that's on your minds, Tara or Brian, today?
I'm just kind of like a newbie.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for instance, there was a class that I had a guest speaker come to.
Yeah.
And I was too nervous to go with Facebook Live, so I just
Okay.
videotaped it. But I didn't do a real good job. But
Okay.
I don't know what to do with that or how to put it on YouTube or the whole mechanics of it. Don't know.
Okay, so that's you bring up a really good point, Tara. A lot of times there's just so much stuff out there when it comes to social media. There's all these platforms and there's different ways that we can use a live or video, and then how do we then, where do we end up throwing that stuff up is kind of the idea. And so maybe just taking a step back and having more of that strategy will definitely address that as well. Anything for you, Brian?
Nothing in particular. Yeah.
Okay. So one thing that I wanted to bring up was for anyone in this space, what's unique is number one is that everyone has a camera that's far superior than anything that we had, like really accessibly at a pretty low cost 10 years ago, right? Our camera, like the amount of pixels that it can capture, the amount of definition is just amazing. Growing up as a kid, we had the old Polaroid, right? I mean, that was the motion that, to get this thing to develop. And so now we have, so much has gone digital. But one of the wonderful things that I saw in Brian's room, I don't know if you guys walked in the showroom, but he actually has physical photos. And I saw this the other day as well. There's a photographer here locally named Sarah, I want to say K. And it was at the, if you know where North Rib Mountain Road is, inside the mobile station, she has a bunch of cards there. So it's pictures of the Dudley Tower, a red farm, things locally that are kind of iconic to central Wisconsin, and they're on greeting cards. And so that's really where I think people forget as a photographer or videographer is you have a medium that you can give it to someone. So whether it's a T-shirt or it's a ball cap, we have the ability to take an image and put it onto something, which can give it. You're leaving something transferable. So even though we live in a digital world, it's basically taking all that stuff that you have and making it tangible, I think can be very powerful. So we're going to jump off from, if you kind of want to have just different pillars for yourselves from a strategy standpoint, is number one is you have platforms. So from what you guys know on platforms, which ones seem to be the ones you're using the most?
Well, like Facebook.
Okay, Facebook's one. YouTube is a huge one.
And then on your website.
Website absolutely is a great place to just, especially from a photography perspective, you basically have a portfolio of different things that you can showcase to people in a way that's just really meaningful. Because since we have the ability to document what we have or show, instead of it saying, hey, I have a lot of great photos in my showroom, you can just take images, upload it onto the Facebook page or to your YouTube and just show a quick 15-second video, and boom, that speaks millions of words in being able to explain to people exactly what's going on. So the 4 pillars that I come from the standpoint of creating that promotion is the platforms. Number 2 is the content, and that's whether you're going to be more instructional, or you're going to just showcase what you do, like the end results, or you're going to kind of like journalize it. So you're documenting what you're doing. So here's me at the wedding. So what I want to be able to do in this wedding is I'm trying to do this. So you're basically talking through as you're making these different videos. Obviously, you might want to eliminate that from when you give the final product to the husband and wife. But it's kind of just maybe these, 1 minute, 30-second commentary that you're giving, or you're just putting a voiceover on the video afterwards in order to kind of give almost behind the scenes. And so that can be really powerful for people as they're watching your YouTube video. So you have platforms, content. The next one's posting strategy. So it's the power of using hashtags, the power of tagging individuals or businesses. And then finally, all the upper 3 don't matter, but you can't really do the last one without engagement. So just like, realtors have the same phrase when you're buying real estate, location, location, location. When it comes to getting your name out there, it's engagement, engagement, engagement. So even if it's that one person that you're doing that wedding for, it's making sure that after you've delivered that, you're engaging with them in a way that's really meaningful, and that way you're able to then establish that strong presence. And so what I find for a lot of people is they're like, well, I don't have a lot of people, and so or I don't have a ton of people following me. It's not about the number of followers, it's about the engagement that they're giving you. So it's more important that you have the one person that is really drawn in and looking at your content versus 10 people that just leave an emoji, thumbs up or a heart. And so if we start with platforms, then how many of you are using Instagram? Do you use it at all?
On a personal level. Not
just personally, okay. Anything for the photography? Have you put up any of the images that you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's where you'll post some pictures and stuff? How about you, Jay?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. So Instagram is really one of those platforms it's created as a picture and now video platform. The video is only a minute long, so it's a great teaser. So, for example, if you want to, get more weddings, maybe you take that long video that you created for that husband and wife and see if you can make it into a 1 minute clip. iMovie was a great example of that from a couple weeks ago that Brian had showed us. Is that you can basically take that content and just automatically just put it in, and then Instagram basically becomes your way of just having teasers or a display out there, which is really powerful. Let's see, Coaster Talk says, never doubt that someone surely cares for you. Absolutely, that's extremely powerful. And so that's where I think you'll find people that are going to appreciate your content when it comes to photography and video will find a lot of value on Instagram. Now, some of the things that changed in the Instagram metric. And I just learned this yesterday from somebody else out there. So what happened is Instagram wants to avoid spamming. So what they're doing is when you produce a piece of content, a post, it's going to go to 10% of your followers. And depending on their engagement level with that post will determine how it gets sent to the rest of the 90%, if at all. So if you're getting a lot of engagement, then it's going to be powerful. So that's the kind of tip number 1, is that note that your engagement might go down based on the post from a view perspective, but you should have greater engagement because they're sending it to those people that are really the ones that quickly comment or engage on your content. The other one is that you're going to want, the second thing that changed in the algorithm is somehow you want to encourage people to leave comments longer than 4 words. So going in and someone leaving a comment to Brian, he just put a beautiful post of, let's say, the sunset over Granite Peak, a thumbs up, a heart, it's only 1 character long. And so you need 4 words or more in order for the engagement to really be there, in order for it to, again, organically get spread to other people. The other thing is that you used to use 30 hashtags in a post, and it was okay to put it in the first comment. So now they go to just 5 hashtags because the other 25 are seen as kind of spammy. And so what Instagram is looking at is basically seeing that as a form of spam, and so then it doesn't allow it to get organically shared as much as before. The other one in that same vein is that if, let's say, you use the exact same 5 hashtags every single post, it's going to assume that some of these posts are kind of spammy again, because they want the hashtags to speak specifically to that post. So if, let's say, again, it's Granite Peak, hashtag Granite Peak, hashtag Instagram photo of the day, hashtag Friday feeling. And so if I post another one at the end of the day, and again, it's still Granite Peak, they're not going to want to see another hashtag Granite Peak in order for it to get seen by more people. The other thing is when it comes to the body versus the comment. So you're going to want to put as your caption in the comment as much as everything is that you want to. So going in and then leaving the first comment, having it be a hashtag or having it being your own comment, isn't going to help it be seen more. So some people would do that. That was their strategy, is that they would make a post and then they would go in, they would drop 30 hashtags in there, and then they would start making some comments themselves to try to create this engagement that really wasn't happening. And then the other one is that they're going to treat going back and editing an original post as somewhat spam. So they're going to reduce its ability to be seen. So it's going to be better for you if, like, you notice a typo, to delete it and then to repost it. So I did this yesterday after I learned it. So I posted up the exact same video. It was 2 hours apart, one at 12, one at 2. And organically, one was the first one that I posted, and it had the 30 hashtags, and it got seen by like 38 people. And then 2 hours later, it got seen by 48 people, even though the other one had 2 hours of a head start, just by changing that, changing the way that I wrote it was really the hashtags that I ended up doing that. So good information. Thank you. You're very welcome. So that's one thing that you just want to be aware of, is that what Instagram is focused on doing in order to get rid of these like Instagram bots or these fake accounts, is that they're pushing real engagement and real content and to be occurring. And so that's really where the fun thing about Instagram is that, because it is on the backbone of like photography and video, is that it's ideally modeled for someone that's in that. Any questions about that or comments? Okay. So the other platform that is extremely valuable that you guys all mentioned is Facebook, and I'd say in our community, that's where a majority of people accounts are. The younger generation, so everybody like in high school, is on Instagram, but they're also on Facebook. So even though they might not go on Facebook a lot, and I noticed that they're not even posting a lot, which is fine, but they're consuming. So I find that Facebook right now, even though you might not get the likes, you're getting some of the views, but even then you're not getting all the views, because sometimes people aren't staying long enough for it to be considered a view. And so from a photo perspective, you don't necessarily need them to hover for 3 seconds. They might look at it and just keep scrolling. And so the other thing about Facebook, which is unique, is that that's one of the places that people will actually read long-winded captions, two paragraphs, 4 paragraphs long, where they don't seem to do that in other mediums. Like a website isn't very common for someone to go and, especially like a business website, to go on and read a long-winded post. They will, maybe if someone's leaving a review, they don't mind reading something a little bit more long-winded. And so I find that a lot of times you can use Facebook as a way to be able to engage and have almost like a real-time content that's happening. So it could be maybe you just dealt with a customer, you just dealt with a really cool, let's say a lighting trick that you're using in your photography that you want to post up in the moment that it happened. Then people can engage with that in real time, which real time put that in like within the next 24 hours, depending on when they go onto Facebook, which is kind of up to them. And let's see what Texas Guard Dog says. Let's see, learning that Twitter is a good way to access the big hitters. Yeah, so that's a really good point. Even in our community, a lot of the CEOs are on Twitter. That's where a lot of athletes are. And so it is the only social media that I know of that's really just real time outside of like these live sessions. So the moment that you're, let's say, watching a sporting event and you're watching, Green Bay versus the Seahawks, you follow that hashtag, you're seeing people comment on the game as it's happening. The unique thing about Twitter is it's a great broadcast. So I know, Brian, in your guys' feed here at Happy Mac, when we had the horrible weather a couple weeks ago, the ice storm, you guys closed early. So instead of going to your website and changing the hours for that day, they just sent out a Facebook message. You can do the same thing with Twitter. Hey, we're closed for the moment right now just due to the poor weather. We'll be back open the next day. And so it's almost like a public service announcement. That's why so much news is consumed, whether we like it or not, in sound bites. That's just what's happening right now. And so let's see, celebs will retweet content that they value. Yeah, celebrities use it as well. I don't know if there's any here locally, but it is true. So then after we go from platforms, so if I'm a photographer, videographer, Instagram, Facebook, in our community is your pillars. The nice thing is that you can post from Instagram and organically it'll go to Facebook, although Facebook wants you to post directly from their platform in order for it to get seen better. So what you can do if you have a piece of content is when you post it on Instagram, the video is only 1 minute long. Facebook, it can be, I don't know if there is a limit on how long, as long as you can upload it. But I know like these live sessions, they'll basically be a minute long and they'll sit on this platform for 24 hours. So you have the ability to leave a very long piece of content. Let's go to YouTube next, just because that's the second most searched website in the world, because people can consume exactly what they want.
45 minutes on Facebook.
Okay, 45 minutes. Thank you for that. There you go. Real-time corrections. So the nice thing about YouTube is it's a great way to be able to have your video content as your own channel. That's the language they use. Think of it like if you wanted to showcase exactly who you are, Jack's photography, Jack's videography, this is a great place for someone to say, hey, or you to encourage them, if you want to see all of my content, that's where it is. Again, if you're in videography. For Facebook, just because you might be, sharing somebody else's content, or you might like somebody else's, work, and then that comes into your feed. Your feed isn't just it's not organically just yours, just because if you like other people's stuff or you share other people's stuff, then now it becomes a part of your feed, and so that can somewhat clutter it. I think sometimes being able to take still photos and put it to music and have them, transition from one photo to the next can be a very, very powerful way to have a video, even though it's not necessarily created as a video. Do you do any of that with any of your work? Have you created video from a bunch of still photos?
Years past, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm definitely shifting to just videos.
Just straight video. The interesting thing that Mark Zuckerberg had told BuzzFeed back in 2016, he says he anticipates that in the next 5 years, almost every post on Facebook will be video. And so because of that, they're pushing a lot of the platform to be able to handle gobs of video and for it to be able to not have to buffer. Because nothing's more frustrating when you press a play button and then all of a sudden nothing's happening. The other unique thing that I find, and this is just me in just experimenting with some of my videos, is that the ones that have like subtitles, or not necessarily word for word, but basically different words come up as I'm speaking, is that those get more engagement than though and a really well worded caption than those that are just the video and a caption. So what's happening is, and we probably can attest to this, is that we will actually consume video with the volume off. You know, I'm in a conference room, I'm in the bathroom, wherever I'm consuming my Facebook or my Instagram feed, I might have it on silent. And so I'm just there to visually watch what's happening, which is kind of interesting. Papa Bear says not to drink the McDonald's. So the other thing when it comes to video is that the way that the posts seem to be organically being pushed out from Facebook and even Instagram is live session first, video with some kind of wording in it, then video, pictures with words, then pictures, and then just text. So text is almost the lowest engagement level. I think sometimes in order to get people to engage, asking questions in your post can be real powerful, or in the text on the photo or the text in the video. I would put it in the very beginning part because most people might, not most people, some people just don't have the desire to watch the entire 1 minute video or 45-minute video on Facebook. So do any of you guys use YouTube at all in regards to your content?
Not significantly.
Not significantly. How are you, Tara?
I'm starting to post a lot of my work on there.
Okay.
So that when I have people that wants to kind of see what I'm doing, or have an idea of as to what I've created in the past, then I could just give them links straight to those videos.
Yeah.
I don't have a personal website for anything just yet, so I'm just really focusing on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, and that's where I think you don't necessarily have to create a website yet. I think you can leverage Facebook, YouTube channel, Instagram as your website. I mean, it's all on the internet anyway. So you're basically using the platforms as a way for them to be able to find out about your work, and that's ultimately what you want. And then almost all these tools have the ability to leave questions or to be able to leave comments. And so in that fashion, they're able to engage with you whether you have a website or not. And so I find that for a lot of people, if you want to be able to show what you can deliver on, whether it's company culture, it's your customer service, you can now show it. Now, for some face-to-face conversations, clients might not feel comfortable being on the camera, but they might not mind being behind the camera if it's just focused on you. And I know that sounds somewhat narcissistic, right? That, it's just all on me. But what you're basically showing is your ability to actually have a conversation with someone and listen to their needs. And so, and yeah, you can maybe you can maybe fast forward on it, so that way it's not necessarily them listening to a half hour of you just going like this and listening. But it's a way that you can actually show people how you listen and how you engage with people, which is really powerful. Let's see, what's the next one is content. So this one, as a photographer, is extremely unique in that because everyone's got a camera connected to their phone, it can feel like everyone, in a sense, is a photographer or videographer. But the biggest separator is the quality of your content. And not that it needs to be perfect, but it should be a lot more polished than me with my phone, right? So this is a way that you can showcase the difference of what you can do, deliverable, versus someone else. And so this is where I think for some people they have that teaching gene where they want to be able to help educate people. So like the how-to videos, an instructional video can be really powerful. I think about for you, Brian, here is that you can show people even the stuff that you have. Yeah. Is it somewhat instructional that they can come and buy it? Absolutely. But instead of it being a stock, hey, this is, from this company X, Y, and Z, we're showing you exactly how it works from an average Joe here in Wausau, which can be a lot more powerful than, Sally Sue, who works for that company, Minolta, and is trying to show you how to use that lens. And so, and then what you'll find is instructional videos hit exactly the audience that you want, because I'm only going to ask if I'm interested in knowing. So for example, I'm not going to research how to do an oil change unless I'm going to do an oil change myself. And so that's really where the power can be from the standpoint of, if you want to show how to do photography, you're holding yourself out as somewhat of an expert. If you're teaching people how to do the lighting, how to use this camera filter, or how to use this lens, or how to use this software, that's probably because one of the things about video editing is that's the artistry. That's what separates you. Because anyone can, not anyone. A lot of people can easily put up some subtitles into a video. I mean, we showed a couple weeks ago how easy it was that even these templates already have some of these subtitles built in, and so you don't really need to do a lot to be able to. You don't need to do a lot to be able to adjust it yourself, but it's extremely powerful if you were to just show people, this is how I edit the video. The other thing that when it comes to content, I think for a lot of people when they're photographers or videographers, is what is it that you really want to show? So there's someone that I follow here locally. They actually run a doggy daycare, and they take amazingly action photos, amazing photos of the dogs in action. They're running through the snow. They're when there's no snow on the ground, they're just running in the park. They're fetching sticks, and they're in photos, but they're all in action, and they're really clear. I don't know what kind of camera they're using, but it's phenomenal. And they're doggy daycare. So the cool thing, if I'm a pet owner, is that I can watch their Instagram feed and I can see my dog getting exercise. And so instead of them telling me that, oh, your dog had a great time, I saw it. I saw you take a photo of my dog today out in the park, and I know she was super excited about that. So that's really where I think you want to hone in on, from a niche perspective, what do you want to do? Do you want to do weddings? Do you want to do still shots? Do you want to do, what's it called? Where you take time-lapse videos. I think those are pretty powerful. And I think a lot of times for people, when you start dabbling in different ways of doing video or photography, you start finding really where you like your niche. And so from the content of, should I put it on a t-shirt? Can I put it on a greeting card? Yeah, I mean, I think there's a great opportunity. If, let's say, I took a photo of the Dudley Tower, I thought it was pretty cool, maybe going to a bunch of the businesses there and seeing if they would want it on a greeting card. Maybe they'd want it on a thank you note. Or if it's, wintertime, would they want it, as a seasonal thank you card? And so that's where I think there's an opportunity to take your talent, your content, and then distribute it differently than it being stuck on digital. Because being stuck on digital is what everybody else does. I have too many photos of my children that I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with them, right? I'm not a scrapbooker, but that was the attitude back in the day, is that you took all these photos to print out within an hour, and then you'd put them into some kind of scrapbook. Now I got gobs of digital photos and videos that just kind of sit out there, I guess, just in case. So that can be something just to think about in regards to your content. The other one that I think people kind of get stuck on is they're like, okay, Sherm, there's tons of stuff out there, and I want to be a little bit different. And if it's not instructional, because you don't really have that desire to be like a teacher in your videos, and that's fine. Not everybody has that desire. And then you don't necessarily know your niche. Doing something like doing a wedding, doing some still shots outside right now would be more valuable than nothing. And so that way people start getting a feel of your eye, your creativity, and at the same time too, you start getting a good feel of what you enjoy and where your interest level lies. So for any of you that are here, like, so from a content perspective, what do you like to show or take videos or images of?
I'm pretty open.
Okay.
I just love curating things.
Mm-hmm.
So I've shot promotional videos. I've done like documentaries, interviews, little short promotional videos at church and stuff like that. Hobbies
Mm-hmm.
that I have, you know, just going out there with the camera and just create things.
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't narrowed down like a specific niche that I want to get into. I'm just kind of keeping my options open and just really exploring. But I mean, like, just thinking off the top of my head, what I would enjoy would probably be my hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really big into the outdoors, so like hunting
Yep.
and fishing and just being out there. So just getting the camera out there, just create what I enjoy. That's something that just off the top of my head, if I was to get into, that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I'm pretty open. I just want to get the camera out there and just create things.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So that's really a really good point about that Jack brought up was, if you couldn't hear him very well, Lindsay, how you doing? Is about curating the content. And I think that's extremely, that's the artistry. Because I think a lot of people can just take a camera and start clicking photos here and there, but it's how do I make that look unique? How do I take a different spin on a, I don't know how many people have taken photos of, the sunset at the Granite Peak or of the Dudley Tower here locally, right? So we have some local, like iconic little places. And so people have taken tons of photos of that, but it's your eye, it's your creativity that can really hone that one out. I was actually looking at the photo behind you, Jack. I don't know a lot of people know this, but office artwork is excessively expensive. Like if I were to go on, I can't remember who even, the companies that basically supply office, accessories, you're talking $200 to $600 for one photo. So for a lot of people that I would rather, being local, want a photo of where I work and play versus some, bunch of dogs playing poker. So something just to think about is that if, for us, I think what happens a lot of times is that we're so used to seeing our own area or our own hobbies that we kind of find them normal. But I will tell you, because I camped last week on Lake Dubay and it's frozen, and so I did a quick video there. And people like in Florida that have never seen snow, like they can't even fathom the idea that a lake could be frozen. So for them, watching that video, looking at those pictures was like phenomenal. Like it was, for them, they don't see that ever. But for us, it's normal because it happens every year for at least 4 months out of the year. It seems like sometimes 3 if Mother Winter's generous. But that's what's interesting is that the great outdoors for us, even though it's just a hobby, just something kind of almost average, it's totally unique to someone else. So that can be really powerful for you to be able to share that with people out there. At the same time, I knew I connected with a photographer down in Indianapolis, and that's what he was asking me about what he could do to kind of differentiate himself. And because he's in Indianapolis, I can share you what some of the strategies. So what he decided to do was just to go into businesses and take some photos. And then, because he was a young guy, he was in his 20s, and the idea was that he was going to start making a collection of all these businesses and then go back to them 10 years later and show them another photo and kind of have a before and after. And then the other thing is that he thought that someone might care more about a cool, maybe just a vantage point or perspective of their building, of their office, versus a photo of, Alaska or, the Bahamas. So that's what he kind of came from that context. And he said it was actually really well received. So, and he didn't hit high price points. He knew that he knew that the cost for office pictures was expensive, and so what he ended up doing was just charging like $50, sometimes 25, depending on how big of a photo that they wanted. So that became panoramic photos are pretty cool as well. Sometimes printing them out can be a little bit expensive, so just take that into consideration when you're charging people for a digital PDF or whatever, GIF, JPEG, whatever we store these things in these days. Lotta says, providing a piece of artwork that is personal is even more meaningful. Absolutely. So maybe there's an opportunity to take a photo of an owner and their dog. That can be powerful. Or the staff in front of the office. That can be more powerful. Might not necessarily hit your creative juices, but at least get you out there, right? Get you doing some different things. Let's see. We partner with local photographers. Oh, so Lotta, who works over at, I don't know if you guys know Lotta, she works over at Environments, the Samuels Group. And so that's what she says that they do, is they try to find local photographers to be able to showcase their work when they do interior, which is kind of cool. Cool stuff, Lotta. So, any other comments or questions about content? Okay, so the next one that I think is really difficult for a lot of people is the creation of the post. So one of the biggest things that they get stuck on is the frequency. So they think that if they post too much, they're going to annoy people. And the reality is that your posts just aren't getting spread out as much as you want it to. So let's just give it a pulse. How often do you guys go into, just one time go into, not how long are you into it, but how often do you go into Facebook on a daily basis?
A few times a day.
Maybe a few times, okay. Like 3 to 5 maybe? Yeah. What do you think, Jack?
Way more than that.
Way more, okay. So you're a little, but are you doing something differently with Facebook? Like, are you engaging with people, talking with them? Or is it still just looking at what other people are doing?
Just observing, just looking.
Observing, okay. What about you, Tara?
I post events.
Okay.
Events on Facebook and engage with some people, but I'd say 3 to 5 times a day.
3 to 5, okay. Lindsay here says she goes on about 10 plus. I know for me, just based on marketing, I'll end up going in more than most, easily a dozen times in a day. And Rob, what's up, buddy? And so this is where I think what happens when most people go on, they're only going on for a few minutes at a time. They're kind of stealing some time here and there. They're waiting to go into the doctor's office for an appointment. Go through, name gets called, so I was only in there for 3 minutes. Waiting to get my hair cut, again, only 5 minutes. Waiting for my son to finish playing basketball. Maybe I got 10 minutes there. So the thing about going through that feed is, let's say you posted top of the morning, and I'm now consuming Facebook at the end of the day. I'll never see your post because I have, let's say, 200 friends, and let's say of those 220 posted, I can't get through all those 20 posts to get to yours that was posted at 7 in the morning. And so even though you hear like 3 to 7 times posting per day, that sounds like a lot, or even your friends might say, wow, you're really, you're working hard. They might have seen 2 posts in a day. They didn't see your 4. And the other thing is, what's interesting is, so I have some people that follow me pretty regularly. Like they have notifications on, so that way when I post, they know that it's happening. And one of them didn't get a post until 24 hours later. So however the algorithm works, they're not getting it the moment that it happens. So the way that here's 2 things. The reason for the posting frequency to be high is because people aren't going to see it as much as you think. The other one is that when you're using hashtags, by using, let's say you post 3 times, use 5 different hashtags, now your posts are in 15 different ways to be searched. So if, let's say, it's hashtag, my local city, hashtag photography, hashtag, the great outdoors, then what happens is when people decide to search for that hashtag, then it'll come up. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, those are the main ones that are using hashtags. doesn't work in Snapchat, but they have geo filters, so that's a little bit more of a unique platform. So the other one that I'll say when it comes to the posting strategy is once you can get over, like, hey, I'm going to do that philosophically, is what do I post up? Because that's a lot of stuff. So there comes this, for those of you that hopefully follow Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, he talks about documenting versus creating, and I just say you do both. So whatever you're creating for someone, the events, you can video journal, take a picture and journal what you've actually done. So that's kind of like journaling out or documenting your day, what you're doing. And so for us, again, this is mundane, this is boring, I'm just running a business. Well, there's a lot of people that don't run a business. There's a lot of people that want to run a business. And so they might be in California, so maybe not necessarily a client of yours, but they might have a cousin that lives here in Wisconsin that all of a sudden they need something and now they're coming to you. So it's interesting. It's interesting from the standpoint that I'm not an expert, guys. Right? I don't run a media company. I'm just a practitioner of this, so I'm finding some of these things just really unique. And so last night I was at a chamber event, and someone had saw me in a video with Amy Garvey. She runs Essential Massage. So she saw me in a video, and this was like a couple months ago. And so when I introduced myself, she goes, "Oh, I know who you are, Sherman. I've seen a couple videos with you and Amy." And so we started having this conversation. So from a salesman perspective, because I'm a sales guy, we chase down every dog. I mean, we are the dogs that's chasing down everything, right? So it's nice to be able to go into a room and somebody already knows me. And then again, the conversations can kind of flow from there. And that's where I think for a lot of us is that by being able to have a presence online, it now allows us then to be local. So the way to be able to have your content be seen locally is to hashtag the city that you're in. So for us, it's hashtag Wausau, hashtag Weston, hashtag Schofield. Anago, there's not that much out there, just because I've gone through their feed. So that can be a good thing as well. You could dominate all the hashtags in Anago if, again, it might look spammy for Instagram, but by being able to use Anago a lot in your hashtags might make it powerful. If your client base is in Anago, that's totally up to you. There are some cool photos out there or videos that could be taken. So you have posting strategies. You have the power of the hashtag. It makes your post searchable. It also allows you to be able to search out other people, which can be really powerful. The next one is the power of tagging. So this one's really unique. So just to give you an example, when I went live on this, I'm tagging the location. So it checks me in here. So anytime that someone wants to look at on Facebook, Happy Mac, they could see that I checked in here. And they might see that we had an event here, and then the other thing is that when I went live, I tagged Brian. So then what happens is people that follow Brian now get recognized that, hey, guess what? He was tagged in this event at this time. And so then people that are connected with him that I don't even know, right? They're just only connected to him, can now see this post. Same thing with, so wherever, if let's say you're doing wedding work for someone, tag them, hey, I'm here with the husband and the wife at this location, and that's going to be able to be powerful for you to be able to be seen there. I tried to reach on Facebook. Oh, who's this? Somebody says something here. Well, that's a long message. Okay. It is spam. You get those occasionally. I think I got some uncle in Nigeria that wants to send me some money but needs some help to clear it first. He needs me to send him some money and then it's going to happen. Trust me, I do not have an uncle in Nigeria. All right. So then the next thing that we have from a posting strategy perspective, so you have the frequency, 3 to 7 times per day. And again, I would just document and create. So if there's anything kind of unique that you're working on. And so even for you, Jack, even if you're just editing video, get the phone, take a video of like your screen as you're editing it, and put it to cool music. There you go. Boom. That's Sunday morning done. Right. If you want to be real creative, then you just take that and you cut it in half and you post that on Monday morning. And that's just part of the grind, just part of the hustle. And then let's say over lunch, you're coming to something like this. Maybe it's a video. If you don't mind yourself, doing the selfie style, hey, this is me going to a meeting, just learn a little more about photography, videography, how I can leverage social media. That's kind of what's going on. So people like to see you go through the process. So it'd be the same thing that I would totally watch this. If Steve Jobs was like, I'm making a business, and it's just him as he's coming out of his garage with his with the other Steve, I would totally watch that. If there was a vlog of Jeff Bezos as he's doing Amazon stuff, I would totally watch something like that. I'd find that very fascinating. Now I know other people wouldn't, but maybe they watch Kim Kardashian though. Maybe they're a follower of her life and they find her fascinating. I don't. And so that's really where we can showcase exactly who we are and what we're doing, and people are going to find that interesting. And if people find you interesting, there's really good odds that they're finding what you're doing, your hobbies, interesting as well. And so then it makes a good opportunity for you to be able to make the sale or make the ask. And right now, so for those of you that don't know, Marathon County, we're the largest county in the state of Wisconsin, but we only have 135,000 people, 134,000. It's a relatively small community. And so we're a little bit behind the times. There's nothing wrong with that. So the cool thing about it is you can totally dominate the market. Like there's not a lot of people doing video work like for businesses. I saw a really cool one yesterday for, they make watches in Detroit, and they interviewed their employees, just about 15 or 20 seconds videos. And it's just them talking about whatever's on their mind. One of them talked about their dog and how they love their pet. And the other one talked about working on a project. And I think they created a watch that matched a particular purse, and just talked really, and again, 10 to 15 seconds, that's all it was. So YouTube channel had some employees recognized there. And what the video was is it was, person talking, and at the end, a really like a 2-second, maybe 3-second outro of their business, their website, .com, and then some music. So real quick and simple. So they're really easy videos to make. And then that way too, then you can actually show company culture and not just talk about it. I talking to manufacturers, that I think there's a huge opportunity for them to have videos. I would be, if let's say they have 200 employees, that's 200. Well, not that everybody would sign off on that, but that's 200 videos potentially that you could make and create and be able to show this is what we do, this is our company, this is who we are, instead of it being, I don't know what that company does, it's manufacturing, no thanks. That's going to be heavy lifting when it might not be any heavy lifting at all. So the last thing that we talk about then is engagement. So this is where it gets a little bit tough for people because we want to build an audience, right? We want to connect with other people, where you want to focus on who's actually engaging with you now. That's just as important, if not more important, actually, than the people that aren't following you. So whether it's 10 people or 125, I think Happy Mac's got 760 some odd that like the Facebook page, that follow the Facebook page. And so there's an opportunity then to be able to engage with those 700 and say, hey, what would you find of interest? And so now the downside about asking people survey-wise is that those that respond, sometimes their opinion is useful, sometimes it's not. The other thing to do is just to start creating content, making videos, putting up posts, see what people engage with. If they like it, awesome. If they don't, then you know not to put it up. I find for a lot of retailers, what happens is they post up sales, and so then people almost get inclined, almost like the Kohl's mentality. I only go in if they have a sale. I'm never going to buy anything at full retail. The other one that they do in order to get more traction is they actually just tell us that you saw us on Facebook, or like us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, let us know when you come in, we'll give you 10% off. And so that allows them to be able to start building that presence online. So the other thing when it comes to engagement is that you want to be able to engage with anybody that follows you. So if you're really passionate about videography or photography, then definitely follow that hashtag, photography or videography, and that way you can see what other people are doing and you can get some ideas, you can get tips. Some people are going to be more instructional. They might give you some different creativity on what you might want to do for yourself. So that can be very powerful. Okay. Any other questions that come to mind? Okay. So then to go back to just kind of connect the dots from a strategy perspective, from promotion, just follow those 4 pillars. Know where your audience might be. Again, in our area, if it's photography, videography, Facebook, Instagram, 2 really powerful platforms. At the same time, don't get like totally romantic on just those 2. Have a website, have a YouTube, connect with them face to face if you can, and that way you're not just married to one, because you don't want to be like MySpace and all of a sudden it goes away and then nobody's on MySpace anymore. And then the other thing then is then to after you know your audience and you're on the platforms is to then have the content, push it out as much as you can. Understand that it's not going to be perfectly edited, right? You know, editing can take a long time, so it might be easier just to show raw footage. Sometimes the raw footage helps. It can make it seem a little more authentic, a little more genuine, sincere, just because it hasn't gone through this filter of being professional and all buttoned up. And then finally is just engage with those that are already engaging with you. I think sometimes people get so stuck on trying to get new people in, they forget about the people that are already in consuming their content. Okay. So just as an announcement, next week on the 9th, I'm trying to see if we can have it at River Valley here on 17th Street. It's up the road. And then that'll be focused on healthcare. So if you're a chiropractor, you're in that kind of world, chiropractor, you have your own clinic, that's kind of where we're going to go from, just because they're in a more compliance heavy, how would I leverage social media when I can't show anybody because of HIPAA and all that fun stuff. And then the 23rd, we'll be talking about how to get a job or how to get a different job. If you're there, I'll have a recruiter in there as well. I'll talk about how to leverage LinkedIn better. 30th, we may not have one. I need to follow up with Carrie Ann just because there's spring break. So some other people are going to be out of town, so it might make it difficult. And then the 6th of April, we'll be at Glacier Dental. So that'll be kind of fun to just be in that space. But if you guys know of any places around town where you'd want to have it, thanks again, Brian, here at Happy Mac for having us, letting us suck on his Wi-Fi and be in his space. Really appreciate it. Any other comments or questions, everybody?
No, I think you covered basically everything that I wanted to know. So
okay, awesome. Well, if there's anything else, guys, feel free. You can check me out anywhere. Peace. Peace.